Boxing Day Ichthyosaur Part 3. What's under this pallet here is the tail section, about 16 vertebrae in all. So I've just taken this aerial view at the moment, and it shows up the row of vertebrae quite nicely. There's one you probably can't see too clearly, it's laying flat on here. There's also a few, you probably can't see them, a few little stubby ribs along here which are right at the very back of the body, and there's also the impression of an ammonite there. Okay, to show you where we are on the actual beast itself, I referred to earlier these little stubby ribs right at the back of the belly of the creature, and I've got, as I say, about 16 vertebrae coming back this way on the block, and I have a further 9 which are loose, so I'm not exactly sure how much of the tail is missing, but not an awful lot. Just spent the last hour or so with the pin vise just carefully picking away bits of loose shell, and the verts are coming into view quite nicely now. I've been busy working away for the last couple of hours, digging away at the shale all around the edge of the verts. There's a big lump of rock on top of here. I've got most of that off, and I've been digging down along this side as well. Now, when I started the preparation, the first part that I did was basically the main body minus the dorsal area, and towards the end of the main body I was expecting to find a rear paddle or 2 rear paddles or some evidence of them, and I have to confess I was a little bit disappointed because there was just nothing coming into view at all, and I felt as though this block, the third block that I'm preparing, was probably too far back, and the paddles just weren't there. But it's not true. I've actually found a couple of digits, and I'm just going to show you on a close-up in a moment what I found. So a nice little diagram there showing front and rear paddles of an ichthyosaur. The rear paddle is on the left. As you can see, it's much smaller, and I believe I may have found one of the major bones, either the tibia or the fibia, directly underneath the femur, and a couple of other digits. So I'd kind of almost told myself, no, I'm not going to find the paddles or any evidence of them. So I'm really quite excited, even if that's all I have got, but I think there's a good chance there'll be a lot more of it in there somewhere. I've just wet this little paddle digit there. That's the first one that came into view. This is the second one here. This is the last digit, and I'm quite confident this is one of the major paddle digits belonging to one of the tail paddles. So really all will be revealed when I lift this piece of rock. Got the main block in front of us and nearest to the screen, and the tail block that I'm working on at the moment, as you can see, is about twice the thickness. So there is a hairline crack running along about the right level, I think. So what I'm going to try and do is carefully saw the lower half of the tail block off, and that should give us equal thickness for both bits. So I think we should be able to see it now. There's a piece of shale here which is very loose, and what I want to do is to saw the block off all the way along here. You can see a hairline crack, I think you'll be able to see that all the way along there. Unfortunately, there's also a crack vertically down on the block running through from top to bottom. You may just be able to see it perhaps about there running across, and that I think is going to open up all the way across there, so I may want to sort of dribble some super glue down there first. Okay, it's going quite well up to now. As you can see, this major crack, which I knew was there. I've been pouring super glue down it and pouring super glue down it, and it just seems to sink away and sink away all the time. But I can feel, as I saw, this top half moving slightly independent of the base, so it won't be too much longer before we get a result. There's a high probability this back section will part. If it does, well, we'll just have to sort of super glue it up. Let's see what happens. Now this is a bit dodgy. The crack is running across here and it's opening up quite nicely, but I'm holding my breath at the moment. Just have to go ever so gently. Oops. Oh, just about there. So for the first time since it was lifted from the beach, I'm just going to see if I can slide the tail section onto the main body. See what kind of a fit we've got, if at all. That's about as good as it goes, I think. Something like that. So what we've got in here is another chunk of shale. I'll just show you. It's got a number of bits and pieces of ribs and other bits of bone, and it originally sat over the top of here, something like that. So it's partially on block 4, but also some of it belongs to block 1. So what I intend to do is to harvest as many of these bones as I can, glue them back onto block 4. So that's the next task. So I've just harvested a piece of bone from the block I showed you earlier, and I'm just going to do a dry fit. Let's just see what happens. It should be about right. Yep. So I think this bone is one of the supporting bones for the tail paddle. I'm not sure what the name of it is at the moment. So what I've done is I've made a drawing here of this section of rib, all these bits and pieces, and this is actually turned over that way and fits over the top of here. So what I can now see by reversing the piece of paper is if I lay this across here, bring this in from the side, those first 3 ribs on the left hand side, these ones are here, here and here, and the other ones go on there, there, there and there. This is just about to go. I've actually seen it lift a little bit, so absolutely just, there we are. So it looks as though I've managed it. So what I'm going to do now is try and locate, assemble the 2 blocks I've got on the bench, turn this section of ribs over, and then hopefully I'll be able to align the broken end up here with some broken ends on the main block. Well, that concludes the boxing day Ichthyosaur Part 3. I hope you've enjoyed it. The next video will be the preparation of the skull. I know I'm really looking forward to it, and I hope you are too. Thank you for watching.